Hey troops, it's Roy from A Geek's Adventures. Woohoo! I'm broadcasting today from Studio Beta in a townhome in the Clintonville section of Columbus, Ohio. Today, it's been a while, so I'm like, ooh, what should we do today? And then it dawned on me. It's Batman Day! Woo! So, hey, do Batman stuff. In particular, what we're going to do today, I'm just talking about like my really cool favorite Batman-y stuff. Yeah! And trying to go for more off-the-wall things that people don't really think about. Some things are really obvious, like, Chris Nolan's Dark Knight Rises or Keaton's Batman. Duh. So, going for the more interesting things. For instance, my favorite Batman figure of all time, and you're thinking, you just did the thing from Arkham Asylum just a couple weeks ago. That's true. My favorite all time, though, actually isn't a recent one. It's an old school Batman figure. It's the Dark Knight Detective Batman figure from Batman the Legends of the Dark Knight figures from like 1993. Yeah, it's old. Sorry. Technically, like I think I mentioned in my review of the Arkham Asylum version of Batman, really the figure should be one of those Play Arts Kai's Japanese imports things, but I gotta pay rent, so not getting the expensive import. But this one is cool. Look at this thing. Back then, this was like around 93 thereabouts. This is when the action figure, the toy industry was really kind of because of the Spawn line, all of a sudden toy makers realized, wait a minute, people actually want like real sculpting that looks kind of cool. They don't just want this dorky looking thing that looks kind of sort of like the character. And they also realized that, wait a minute, kids aren't the only ones buying these stupid things. No, dorks like me, we're beginning to, well, we were just out of college and going, got a little bit of extra money, or going, I can eat ramen noodles for a month. I don't care. So, from the Spawn line, things, of course, the dominoes fall, and Kenner at the time had the license and went, all right, we got to do something. So they came up with assorted new lines, and one of them was the Legends of the Dark Knight action figure line. These are all kind of what if stories and so on and so forth with new takes on the characters. You get the idea, blah 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 blah. But my favorite of them all was the Dark Knight figure because, as you can see, he's pretty epic. Now the bad news is that if you're looking for Marvel Legends type articulation and all that, no. This is from the 90s, so you're lucky to get neck, shoulders, wow, he can kick his legs. So what's the big deal? Come on, look at the cape, people. Also, actually, the sculpting. Okay, it's not realistic sculpting. But you get lots of musculature. I love the paint. The paint is simple, but is very iconic. All jet black. I'm kind of when it comes to the blue and gray, and very about the black and gray. The all black. I love the all black. Also, a nice touch, if you can see that in the camera, the belt and the circle around the bat signal. This isn't typical yellow. This is like bronze gold. So it kind of gives it a little more, kind of a more unique look to it. And of course, you've got the Kelly Jones massive ears and the giant Kelly Jones cape. Kelly Jones and Doug Mensch worked together on a series of Batman-related sort of horror stories. It's known as the Crimson Mist story arc, where Batman turns into a vampire. It sounds dumb. It's really good if you can find it out there. Usually in compilations. And the cape is like this. This is giant, crazy, very Todd McFarlane, screw photorealistic. We're going for it. And which is what I kind of like about this. You've got the kind of tech look because of the armor, and you get the obligatory little like Batarang looking thing. But at the same time, you've got this kind of horror ghostly thing with the giant wings and all this kind of crap. So it plays on the both sides of the figure. You know, you got the Dark Knight detective, the idea that, you know, he's this tech-oriented character, but at the same time, he's human, right? He's human, right? Right? And you're wondering, how did you get this in the box? Well, the top parts here, they do slip off for the sake of packaging. So if you wanted to go kind of, you remember Nolan's Batman, where, you know, he had the cape of the memory cloth. You could say, hey, you know, this is the non-flying mode, and then he's got the, you know, you put the tips back on, and it's the flying mode. Woo! So yeah, this is my favorite of all time. You can find this on the secondary market. Remember, it's Legends of the Dark Knight figures. Not the easiest thing to find, but you can do it. It can be done. So, yay! What else we got? My favorite Batman story. Okay, everyone talks about, you know, Killing Joke, The Dark Knight Returns. Yeah, let's see, Dark Knight Returns, the other one, The Long Halloween. All great stories. I wanted to go someplace different, and I went with Batman versus Predator. When I first heard about this story, I think I had the same reaction a lot of you have right now of, what? Yeah, Dark Horse and DC, you know, they had a partnership. Dave Gibbons was the writer. Yes, Dave Gibbons of Watchmen fame. He wrote this, and the Kubrick brothers, Andy and Adam, were the artists. Premise is very simple. Basically, it's kind of like the Schwarzenegger movie. The Predator decides to come to Gotham. You know, he hears about, you know, the crazy stuff and about, you know, some dude in a suit. So hey, it's hunting season. The story's in 3 parts, and in the first part, the Predator shows up and, you know, he starts picking off people. Of course, Batman's like, what the heck's going on? And as the issue progresses, and he begins to figure out that, okay, 1, this ain't human, and number 2, it's hunting. He finds the Predator, and unfortunately doesn't realize what the heck he's fighting. Gets his butt kicked. It's bad. Basically, he almost gets killed. Bless Alfred for basically being the best triage medic on the planet for basically saving him. Second issue is all Predator. Basically, it is hunting season. He goes through the entire underworld. Now, unfortunately, none of the supervillains are in there, which is actually kind of good because then he'd end up killing everybody. Although seeing the Joker's reaction to the Predator would have been kind of cool. But he basically goes through the entire underground, literally to the point where 2 mafia families are working together to try and fight this thing, slaughtering everybody, just like in the Predator film. And meanwhile, Bruce is basically in the infirmary, covered in bandages, multiple lacerations, concussion. He can barely see, and Alfred going, Master Bruce, shut up, stay in bed. And it gets to the point where, since the Predator, you know, typical Predator fashion, is going through the food chain and almost kills Gordon. Just the nick of time, Gordon is able to escape, and of course at this point, you know, the entire city's going, what the hell's going on? Because it's obviously, there is open warfare on the streets. And of course, you know, in typical comic book fashion, Batman being Batman comes up with special armor, a special radar sonar helmet to help him watch the Predator, and at the end of issue 2, turns on the bat signal, comes in just in time, and, you know, Gordon's like, oh, thank God you're alive, and goes, all right, it's time for round 3. And round 3, the 3rd issue, is this battle royal through the streets of Gotham between the Predator and Batman. It is awesome. The only other fight that may be more epic for a Batman story besides the Red Hood fight in Batman the Red Hood, and also, of course, you know, Dark Knight Returns versus Superman, is the fight with the Predator. It is wonderful. Seeing them both kind of, you know, taking advantage of their tech, the counters, the counters, and everything. It is an awesome story and so fun. And last thing, of course, gotta talk movies, because we're talking about Batman. And what's my pick? Batman Beyond, The Return of the Joker. Okay, you know, I love the Joker, don't get me wrong, but so often brought up that after a while you go, another dang Joker story, really? Um, Fortunately, um, these guys when they did Batman Beyond, they were smart and they really didn't mess with the Joker mythology. For those of you who aren't familiar with Batman Beyond, this is set about, I don't know, 40, 50 years in the future. Bruce, no surprise, is not dead. Also, no surprise that he's a very grumpy, nigh crippled old guy, and ends up um, getting a young man, a Terry McGinnis, to take over as Batman. Terry's the exact, no surprise, the exact opposite. He's got bits and pieces of Dick Grayson in him being a total smart aleck. Um, but the entire story arc is a wonderful story arc for series in general. And of course, after I forget how many seasons though, they got smart and went, so what did happen to the Joker? It is a wonderful story. Mark Hamill comes back to do the voice of Mr. J. And it is a marvelous story. You get a lot of interesting insight too as to why did Batman quit? What happened to the rest of the team? It is a great story, and if you're lucky, you can also get two versions. There's the one that was a little more kid friendly. This is the unrated version where things get a little more tragic than they did in the cartoon in the TV version. But both versions are wonderful stories. But there you go. Happy Batman Day to all my peeps out there. So there you go. Hope you guys have a good weekend. And as usual, may the force be with you. May the odds forever be in your favor. And always, 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 as always, let's be good to each other, right? Peace, peeps. Bye.